Good afternoon, friends. Today I am going to talk to you on a very serious subject, and that is how do we stop China? How do we fight China? How do we defeat China? Of course, no country is fully defeated either economically, culturally, socially, or even politically. But presently, the discussion that is happening in our country is about how do we stop China, how do we combat or defeat China. And therefore, in the very sense of patriotism, there have been quite a few thoughts which are being expressed that we should not buy Chinese products, we should not enjoy Chinese services, and so on. But then there is a limit to this. We are all members of World Trade Organization. We, China, America, and most of the countries, we have been, being the members of the WTO, need to follow certain rules of trade, business, and so on. Therefore, to what extent we can contain China, we can limit the imports from China, okay, the scope is very, very limited. And therefore, in my opinion, we need to look at couple of different strategies, ideas. While working on my book, which is getting published very soon with the title Economics of Survival, I could study 14 influential countries and their economies, including of course the USA, China, Russia, etc. etc. Now, this study benefited me a lot for a very simple reason that I could compare these 14 influential economies with each other. And therefore, what I am going to present to you today is a different thought process, some different ideas. I may be wrong, I may be imperfect, please correct me. Now, there is no comparison as such between China and India. Let us be very objective, let us be very rational. Chinese economy is more than 4 times of the size of our economy. Labor productivity in China is almost 60% greater than the overall average productivity in India. Chinese infrastructure is far more better. Chinese military power is far more better. In general, Chinese administration, bureaucracy, let me make a very rational statement, is far more better. The decision making process in China is very speedy, very objective, very focused, and therefore the comparison between China and India on most of the economic factors probably may not be very rational. Therefore, how do we look at China? How do we face China? It requires some kind of new thinking process, a new thought process, new ideas, new strategies, for which we need to look out, okay, into the global arena. We need to look out into the global market, global politics, and so on. Let me put some ideas here to you for your discussion, for your criticism, for your suggestions. Number one, almost 16 to 17% of the exports made by China are made to America, that is USA. We need to study what exports are made by China to, say, USA, to couple of European countries. For that matter, what trade has been happening between China and Japan, China, South Korea, China, Taiwan, China, Vietnam, and so on. Why? Because if at all the overall credibility of China is down today as a result of the Wuhan episode, we are all being fighting corona, and therefore China's geopolitical credibility, economic credibility, cultural, social credibility is down today. Not that the credibility of China is declining today. It started declining couple of, I would say, years back. The Belt and Road Initiative, BRI as we call it, which China started, trying to attempt couple of Asian countries, African countries with European countries. China has got a very ambitious purpose of this entire project. But then in the process, China's credibility has come down. Maybe I would present an example here. Sri Lanka also participated in this entire project. But then the funding that was done by China for Sri Lanka's participation was through what? A loan from China. It was a big borrowing for Sri Lanka. And when Sri Lanka realized, a very tiny kind of a country, that we cannot repay this loan, okay, on the conditions of China, and then Sri Lanka started offering certain advantages, benefits, concessions to China. Most of the small country participants in the BRI project have recently realized about what China's geopolitical ambitions, and therefore they are not very comfortable with China, the way China has been conducting itself. Now, therefore, this is a kind of very favorable situation for us to study these members, these country members of this entire project, go closer to them, study their problems, and try to work on those problems. The second point of discussion here, which I really want to present to you, almost 6 lakh young Chinese either are studying in America, that is USA, or working in USA. There is a good number of non-resident Indians or Indians working in America. Now, those Chinese youth who are working in America are enjoying the open atmosphere of the American democracy. They are very happy with American democracy, American entrepreneurship. Okay, but then can we connect there with those Chinese youth, Chinese youngsters, and tell them about what is happening in China to Chinese farmers? Why Chinese farmers are not happy? How are they suppressed? What is happening to the rural labor of China? Okay, the rural labor of China, the small farmers of China are not treated properly by the Communist Party of China. Therefore, the young Chinese who are working in USA should realize that they need to do something on this issue. Now, why am I suggesting this to you? China has been working through both the methods, the hard method and the soft method. The hard method is geopolitical ambitions, the military power, economic progression, and so on. But the soft approach is also becoming very vital. China has been working on the language called Mandarin. It is working on its old heritage and culture. Okay, it has been investing a lot in cultural programs and cultural institutions across the globe. Now, here what we need to do something very creatively, and that is how I suggested that can we connect with the Chinese youth in America and sell our story to them, and this can be very, very impactful in my opinion. The third point that I want to suggest over here, which also is very important, why China is becoming a superpower, or has it become a superpower? One important dimension is the Islamic dimension. China has been accepted as a leader by most of the Islamic countries. The growing friendship between Iran and China is a very, very evident, very visible example of this growing relationship. Now, what do we do here? We have Islamic population in our country next to Indonesia. We understand Islam very well. We understand Sufism, Salafism. We understand Shias and Sunnis. And therefore, we are most eligible, right, to get into this arena and tell the Islamic world that we can be far more better than China in terms of economic and cultural cooperation. Friends, let me share with you, I have done quite a few assignments for the government of Oman, the Central Bank of Oman. I understand Islam very well. For a very simple reason, working on Islamic banking products and so on, right? I was compelled to study Quran, Sharia, Hadith and so on. Why am I making this statement over here? That we need to work on the Islamic cause. We need to encash, the overall respect that we enjoy in most of the Gulf countries. More than 90 lakh Indian workers are working in the Arabic area, the Arabic countries as such. Therefore, we must encash on this front. We have a huge credibility over there. Virtually, we have been running their economies on operational level. Therefore, we can also dare to see that there is a friendship that can be re-established between two big Islamic countries, Saudi Arabia and Iran, a Sunni country and a Shia country. There is a great amount of, I would say, scope for us to mediate and see that the tension between these two countries, is simply is simply resolved, and these two countries work together in the interest of global economy. Now, same can be said about couple of Islamic countries which separated from yesterday's USSR, like Kazakhstan is an Islamic country on the very border of China. If China is present in Nepal, it is present in Sri Lanka, it is there close to Bhutan, it is very much there in Pakistan, it is there in Myanmar and Vietnam, so it is there in most of our neighboring countries. why should not we too give a message to China that we too are there? We too are there in those countries which are on the neighboring border, which are on the border of China. We can closely cooperate with a country called Mongolia. We can also cooperate with those countries, okay, which are lately not very comfortable with China. For example, South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, even I would say Vietnam, Philippines, okay, smaller countries like Cambodia, for that matter, even I would say a very small country like Taiwan. These countries are not very comfortable the way China has been conducting its economic business, its economic approach to the entire global market, the way China has been conducting itself for its political ambitions as such. Now, how do we closely cooperate with these Buddhist countries? I am calling them as Buddhist countries. Buddhism, Gautam Buddha is our gift to the entire globe. It was born here. Buddhism was born here. And therefore, we need to look at these Buddhist countries very closely. For a very simple reason, what are the advantages of China compared to us? The biggest advantage of China is scale, size. Number 2, capital formation. Number 3, its banking system. Number 4, administration bureaucracy. In China, the decision making process is very fast. If you want to put up a company in China, a plant in China, probably you may complete your project, put up a plant there in around 6 to 9 months. Do we have that kind of a speed over here in India? Now, these are advantages of the Chinese economy, Chinese bureaucracy, Chinese political system, Chinese banking system, which are not so optimal with us as a country called India. Therefore, if at all we look at China as a big economic threat to us, political threat to us, we also need to work on all those strengths which China has been possessing and China has grown over there. Okay, maybe I would say no comparison between we and China. But then coming back, what we can look at, where we can look at, 60% of our population is young, is innovative, is energetic. Whereas with one child kind of an approach in China, China very soon shall start suffering from shortage of working or productive labor as such. Chinese labor has already become expensive. With the BRI kind of a project and the Wuhan kind of episode, if China's credibility is down, okay, many countries are trying to replace China. The government of Japan already advised its companies, okay, which have been working in China as such, that can we withdraw from China? Can we depend lesser and lesser on China? And therefore, this is a great opportunity for us. Okay, to do what? To reflect China in the global market wherever possible. But this comes back to what? This comes back to we need to look at our weaknesses today. Can we improve our bureaucracy? Can we improve our labor laws, our banking regulation, insurance regulation? Can we offer innovative products in insurance to the new participating companies and the new partners, the country partners as such? Why should American companies, European companies, for that matter Taiwanese and South Korean companies should withdraw from China and come to us? If at all they need to come to us, they should come to us. What do we offer to them? This won't be possible in next 6 months or 1 year, or maybe even not possible quickly in say 2 years. But then I am a very strong believer of a philosophy that there should be beginning of beginning. Can we begin working in those areas where China is very, very powerful? But then there are a couple of areas where China is not powerful. Like, if I compare Indian employees, Indian IT employees, Indian employees in manufacturing sector, service sector, okay, if I compare them with Chinese labor, what do I find? Most of the Chinese labor is of a robotic performance, robotic behavior. They behave robotically, they perform robotically. Of course, their output has been fantastic. Compared to that, we have 6 crore SMEs in India, and our entrepreneurship is of a great quality. Our entrepreneurs are reasonably flexible in their business modeling approach. Our entrepreneurs are quite innovative, something we call jugaad. But then there what? Again, there is a great limitation. About what? Patenting and copywriting. The patenting and copywriting that China offers to the foreign companies, to its own citizens, is at a certain speed, clarity, and I would say a great success ratio. Now that is not happening with us. Let me share with you my own example. My one management model is pending for a patent to be given for almost 8-9 years. We need to work on this front. We need to work on research and development a lot. We can collaborate a lot with countries like Sweden, Germany, Britain, America, South Korea, Taiwan, for that matter Singapore, or I would even say some of the South American countries like Brazil, Argentina, and so on, provided we improve our research and development kind of environment. We push our patenting and copywriting process in the right direction. The number of patents and copyrights which China has been getting every year in last 6-7 years, okay, that number is just next to the USA. Now, what do we do over here? Although we are very innovative, our engineers are great, whether they are mechanical engineers, electronic engineers, civil engineers. Our engineers can do wonderful things in areas like artificial intelligence, biotechnology, new medical sciences, and whatnot. If our boys can do wonderful things in Silicon Valley, they can do wonderful things in the laboratories of Great Britain, they can work a lot in Australia and Singapore, why not we create that kind of an atmosphere, environment in India over here? We are a country of huge opportunities. Now let me take you to the next point of argument discussion here. As I already mentioned to you that the agricultural management, the agro sector, the labor in the agro sector in China, okay, is in a bad shape. Now that is what is perhaps I would say the great weakness of Chinese economic model or socio-economic model. But then that becomes an opportunity for us. Our agricultural sector, our agriculture is reasonably fertile. Our land is fertile. Okay, we have a long 3,000 years of legacy when it comes to agricultural management. Our farmers are innovative, hardworking, but then most of our agriculture is based on monsoon. Our agriculturists, our farmers are not offered good price for their outcome, for their output. Okay, we do not have good storage facilities. Our agricultural infrastructure, agricultural marketing, branding is very, very poor. We need to do a lot of change over there. If we can do that, countries from Europe, countries like South Korea, Australia, Brazil, Argentina, even for that matter USA, they would be very, very willing to work with us. Even countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, which are agro-based economies, they also would be willing to work with us for the cause of research and development in agriculture, for the cause of soil conservation, for the cause of water management. We only look forward to what a few smaller countries like Israel when it comes to water management. We need to do a lot in the agriculture arena because we can replace China very easily in the agro space, in the agricultural sector. Now, this again requires what? Can we revisit our agro-based strategies? Can we unite our farmers through a proper kind of a model? I always suggest a model 3x3. My 3x3 model is what? Public sector or public owned enterprises, big corporates in the private sector, and SMEs from the private sector. How do we connect these three to agriculture, service, and manufacturing? Now, if we create a 3x3 kind of a network, we promote this network, okay, probably we can gain a lot of momentum in the global economy, global trade and global business. Now, let me take you further to my next very, very important discussion. That also is very important because the Chinese economic model, is it sustainable socially in the years to come? Chinese youth inside China today is not very comfortable because their salaries are not growing. Their salaries, their cost to economy, the Chinese labor is already very expensive. Therefore, foreign companies, European companies, American companies are giving a second thought that the Chinese labor is expensive. The China government and China's judiciary and banking is not very transparent. China doesn't treat the foreign companies very well when it comes to R&D, when it comes to technology transfer. Now, these are the areas of great weakness when it comes to Chinese leadership. But then these are the same areas which are of a great opportunity to we people, especially we Indians. And for that matter, we need to create that kind of environment. Friends, as I said initially, when we try to compare ourselves in the space of, say, military power, economic power, size, scale, okay, China is way ahead of us. In last 12 to 13 years, the rate of growth in GDP of China, okay, has been mesmerizing. Very lately, very recently, there is a reduction in the growth rate of China's GDP. But then that is true of our economy also. Therefore, we must look at the present situation and see that we encash it to our advantage. Now, the last point here, and that point is also very, very important. As I said, we went closer to America in last 2 decades. While going closer to America, we forgot our old friendship with Russia. Russia is our great friend. Okay, there is a great friendship legacy between we and Russia. Therefore, we need to give a signal to Russia that we need you and you need us. The growing friendship between China and Russia is not really good for us. It is not good for the entire globe also. I mean, definitely it requires a different analysis. But then, while going closer to America, we should not forget that Russia is also very important to us. Leadership of Mr. Putin inside Russia, image of Putin in the Western countries is a matter of separate analysis, discussion. I am not getting into it. But the point of argument here is China is gaining from Russia in terms of getting its crude oil. Russia is also gaining from Chinese economy, Chinese technology. Okay, quite a few other support those come from China. But then, can we break this relationship? Can we dilute this friendship that is there between Russia and China? Friends, I go back to my earlier statement. If Pakistan is an irresponsible country, it has become a problem for us, a problem child for us. If we want to contain Pakistan, we need to develop our own leadership, okay, in the Islamic world. We need to look at the Islamic world very seriously. And for that matter, our laborers, our businessmen who have been working in all those Arab countries for a couple of decades now, they are a big, big capital for us. So friends, let us look at all our weaknesses and strengths very seriously. And therefore, let us come back to the slogan which I made. Let us contain China. Simultaneously, let us grow our own economy, our infrastructure, improvise our methods, our bureaucracy. Let us work on R&D, develop a new relationship with Buddhist countries, Islamic countries. Let us look at USA with a different approach and the Chinese youth working in USA and so on. Everything is possible, friends, if we have a positive mindset. If at all, we look at our own mindset, change it, be very positive, work on these theories and strategies, look external, look outside, at the same time, look inside also. So everything is possible if at all we believe in ourselves. Thank you very much for your patient listening. If at all you have any thoughts, any suggestions, please reach to me. My email address is very simple, girishjakhotiya@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Jai Bharat.